series. What? I'm like, what, thing actually had hit like that? And I'm like, you got like Lion King, that has a little bit of stuff, but like that Scar doesn't, does too much stuff. You have, of course, Lion King 2, where the guy, can't remember his name, he grew up in the outcast, outlands, he came back a little bit
Hmm.
better. Like, it's so weird because a lot of people, when it comes to watching shows, watching sports, watching whatever, they love the redemption arc of it. But if somebody just goes through life and they have it like, if they still work for it, but they have like, connections, nepotism, or whatever the case is to help get to a place, people then talk trash and talk bad about it, saying you don't earn it. So it's so weird and difficult and tough because it's like you want to have it in a better way, but yet people just feel that jealousy towards it. And it's
Yeah,
it's tough because you got to have a balance of all the above. And well, and I say balance, but like it's
yeah,
more about like having this mind of like, hey, look, people get whatever they get as, God basically provides it. Because if we are gonna, talk about it in like a business sense, like some people
hmm,
have a 30%, like people get into it at the right time, some people get into the worst time. But at the end of the day, people get what they get out of it because of the opportunity, because of the moment, and really just any and all things like that.
yeah. You've got a couple things that go into that. I mean, you could look at somebody who inherits a business, and really, we're not really going to know whether they've earned that or not until he or she has a couple years under their belt. You know, it's really going to be, do they have the fruit on the tree? Is the business continue to be successful, or is it starting to fail? You know, and there's really nothing wrong with inheriting a business um, at all. There's nothing wrong with that. The negative side is if they don't have the fruit on the tree, if they're not putting in the work to be worthy of leading that business, and then two, it's um, I know it was right there. And the second thing is that are they seeking mentorship? You know, because that's the thing is you can run a business, and let's say you and your dad ran a business for he ran a business for 20 years. You came in the last 5, but you were a good student. You did all the things he taught you to do. You took his advice. You talked to him before you made critical decisions, and he supported you. And you, in those 5 years, you grew underneath him, and you became worthy by your actions, your obedience to then inherit that business. And then after you've done that, then he says, okay, now I'm going to step into an advisory role. And depending on how you do for the next 3 to 5 years will depend on whether I retire and you take over 100%. But not everyone gets that chance. Sometimes a person passes away and the kids or the spouse don't want to deal with the business because they're not invested in it. And sometimes to me, depending on the attitudes of the people involved, that can be a tragedy because here somebody's created something and now that legacy is gone. We could look at the way Walmart does things. Under Sam Walton, it was a very different business. It was a very different company. And now it's still successful, but it's not playing it's not playing the same way in the market as it used to. It's now pushing for things to be more on their side and against competitors, to injure competitors instead of just competing based on, excuse me, being the best. Sam Walton cared about being the best. He didn't care about making the most money. He didn't care about, destroying the other guy. He just wanted to build the best company, provide the best products at the best prices to his customers.
Hmm. That makes me think of a few things actually, because I want to further touch on that actually. But first, since I just noticed you actually started recording, I'm like, dang, do I need to do an intro for us or something? Or you got that?
An intro. Well, um, you know what?
Look,
I'm I don't usually do worry about intros
well,
because
look,
here's the thing. I'm not worried about it. If somebody's on my YouTube channel or on social media, this mug is well, some people it's unforgettable, some people it's terrifying. But you know what? I'm recognizable to my audience. And I'm sure you are too, Corey. But
yeah,
in that regards, Corey's a real estate agent, an entrepreneur, and a student of the scriptures and striving to be, like the rest of us, a servant of the Lord Jesus Christ. He's an amazing young man. I had a fantastic conversation with him on Monday. I think it was Monday,
look, days
and
go fast. Yeah, I think it
it's been
was.
it's been a week, right?
Yeah,
So Corey connected with me through LinkedIn and came with curiosity and an interest in the things that he's seen in my social media and wanted to know more. And me, because I love helping people, was open to have a conversation with Corey to see what Corey was interested in. And we both, I feel, learned from each other when we talked on Monday. And so we decided to have another conversation tonight and talk about some different things. Now, Corey sent me some questions
ooh,
to
real quick, before you get into
cover.
that, because I'm
Go.
like, the way you are, I'm like, look, I got to give you an intro. So I'm here with Will, the podcaster, the writer, the actual coach. And look, it could be for sports, but I know this man's a coach at life, a good biblical spiritual coach with multiple businesses for his family, for businesses, really just for anybody. So I'm just glad to have this moment here with you, Will, because with the books that you go over on like a daily basis, you spread knowledge, wealth, and abundance. So I just love that, and I'm just glad we can connect and be a part of that.
Thanks, Corey. I do that because of how much books help me. And if
Hmm.
I can help somebody else by inspiring them to pick up a book that I recommend, man, that's that for me is the cake. The icing is that person and picks up another book, and starts their own personal journey in leadership reading that helps them grow and develop into the person they want to become.
Hmm.
One of the things that's beautiful about life is it's a journey, and we can make it a hard journey and have a glorious end, or we can make it an easy journey and have a horrible end. And life is kind of a choose your own adventure, I guess.
So here's one of my questions, and of course, I guess you can start off with it. So, like, since we was talking
Sure.
about mentorship, learning from things, also just, of course, implementing the Bible as best possible we can through our daily actions.
Mm-hmm.
Just how do you tie together the Bible in with your business and with your life into just everything? Like the Bible, to be honest, to me is a mentor. So how do you best learn to be a student of the Bible?
Well, um, I was challenged in August of 1993 to start reading the scriptures every day. And it took me a whole year to get to a point where I really started reading every day. And since 1994, August of 1994, I have probably missed reading maybe somewhere between a dozen and 2 dozen days where whatever happened, I just wasn't able to do what I wanted to do that day and spend at least a verse or two in the scriptures. Some of the days, probably 100, probably 200 days, where it was lunchtime, and I was going out to my car or I was going off by myself just so I could read a few verses because I don't like me if I don't start my day right. Now, being that it's a couple decades since then, yes, I could allow myself a day off, but I don't believe in that. I don't believe that I can take a day off from Christ. And so that means that every day I need to spend time in the scriptures, I need to spend time in prayer. The way that I bring that into my into business and into my life is I try to live the tenets of my faith. Now, I'm not perfect. What boggles my mind is that some people try to put on airs because they're Christian that their life is perfect. No, life is hard. Life is hard. It's challenging. Last year, we had 3 car accidents in less than 60 days.
Yes.
I didn't want that. That's what happened. This year, on Friday, just last week, my air conditioning went out. And if we're lucky, it'll be repaired on Wednesday morning.
Are you in that same car right now?
No, I'm in. So this car we've owned since 2017. It's
Okay.
now the beater car. Um, and we bought, so to go back to that last year, we bought a car for my son, a 1997 Honda station wagon that he drove for 6 months. And then some deer decided to interrupt his trip to swim practice, and he rear-ended another car. It was a little
Mm,
bit wet out. He was following too close. New driver. Okay, not a big deal. So that happens. We buy another car in March. The end of March, I hit a bus.
mm,
No one's hurt. No kids were on the bus. Very, very thankful. It was just the bus got damaged a little bit and my Jeep got totaled
mm.
because the suspension was a very large part of the value. Like to replace the suspension, it was two
Yeah.
thirds the value of the Jeep. So I went back to driving my car. My wife went back to driving this,
Mm,
and we got a different car for her. About 30, 35 days after that, a red VW Golf came out of nowhere. Like I was looking for traffic in it coming, and I didn't see it. I don't know why, but I pulled out to get into the traffic circle, and we played bumper cars, and it ruined the suspension on that vehicle. So, um, we then went and got another car, and so now we have 2 newer cars, and then we have this one. Um,
just get a car lot at this point.
uh, but they're expensive to run, and then I got employees, and I don't really have the time for that just yet. To
No.
get somebody to train somebody up to run that. But here's the thing: the blessings that came out of that is nobody in the cars was severely injured. No one. My child that was with me, both of them, wasn't injured. My two older sons who were in the Honda, no injuries. The driver of the other cars, everyone's fine. So I'm super thankful. Yeah, I I look at it this way: God's been working on my attitude about material things. It's His stuff, and this is the attitude I'm trying to work on. It's His stuff, and He's letting me borrow it for the time being. And that was not my idea. I got that from a story um, that my sister told me about a friend of hers at her church.
Mm,
He was visiting a family, and I think the teenage son came home, and he misjudged, and he rear-ended the back of the guy's vehicle,
mm,
and the kid freaked out, and he came in and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I ruined your truck, and he's like, "Oh, that's not my truck, that's God's truck. He's just been loaning it to me for a while." Holy smokes! Like, what do you mean? Where did he get that kind of faith, that humility, and that love of Christ? Well, I would posit that he's probably a student of the scriptures. He probably studies them, spends time in prayer, and practices his faith to the best of his ability. And so you can lead a business as a Christian with Christian principles. What a lot of people misunderstand about a current environment we live in is that not all companies operate in that way. And a lot more of them buy lobbyists and practice crony capitalism
Mm.
and buy influence to get laws written to favor their business specifically. And to me, that's unjust. To me, that's unjust. You should laws should not be written to punish your business competition. I believe it should be a free market. The best ideas should win. The best products should win. The best companies should win. Not because somebody like Uncle Sam is putting money behind them, but because they do the work. They deliver on the best. A good example, I'll never forget the first time I walked into a Chick-fil-A. We were in Cincinnati, Ohio. We were going to visit friends, and our we had our oldest three kids at the time. And my wife gave me our youngest and said, "Go find a table, get a high chair, and I'll go order food." I'm like, "Okay." So I just went and got a table for us and got him set up. And I turned around to walk back to help my wife. And she was halfway to me. "Honey, where's the food?" "Oh, the concierge has it." "The what?" "This is a fast food restaurant. What are you talking about?" And there behind her was an elderly lady carrying our food on a tray. And I'm like, what is this wizardry? Well, since then, I've started to study more about Chick-fil-A and start to understand their business culture. And, you know, they they started as a Christian organization. The founder of Chick-fil-A was a Christian. He implemented Christian values in the organization. They're not open on Sundays, which sometimes when you travel, I'll be honest, sometimes on Sunday when I'm traveling a long distance, I want some Chick-fil-A nuggets. But, you know, they don't
Mhm.
open. So my wife and I tease each other a little bit about it. And then, we're on the road, so we go find whatever. But if you look at their business model, they're the third, they're the third fast food chain. I forget who number two is, but McDonald's is number one on their profit. They have about a quarter of the number of stores, I think, that McDonald's has. Their average store does, I think it does $4 million a year in revenue versus a McDonald's, which is 1.5.
Mhm.
They're closed. They're open 6 days a week, closed to one. They have the best customer service in the food service industry for fast food chains ever. Now, it's not a culture for everybody. Not everyone's going to feel comfortable eating there or working there. However, they don't discriminate against people's religion. They practice their values, they teach their values, which really most people, no matter their faith, can follow and adhere to that. Because if you boil down most religions, it's about being a good person, in my opinion, personal opinion. It's about being a good person. And you can work for Chick fil A and be a good person and be a Muslim or be a Jew or be a Christian or be an atheist or be an agnostic. But you look at that culture that they've created. That culture is so powerful that one of my sisters loves Chick fil A so much that she has worked for different Chick fil A stores over like the last 10 years because she loves the culture. She loves being in that culture. She loves teaching and mentoring the teenagers that work there.
Mhm.
So, um,
And I would say that's something that really I hear what you're saying, and that's very just important with, Chick-fil-A, they set a standard for what they want to do. They have their basis of God as their foundation. So what we need to do as ourselves as business owners is have a good foundation, which mine is going to be through God. So have a good foundation of that, but also put in the effort, put in the work, have good quality as well, and just let everything grow from there. And
Yeah.
just hope and pray that everything just prospers, you know?
Well, a
And
friend of
typically it
mine,
does.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said typically it does.
Well, a friend of mine says that if God calls you to it, he'll bring your clients. Now, I might have to work on myself to be worthy of those clients, to be worthy of serving those people. And the only way I can do that is to serve. What am I doing to serve my community? Well, books is one of the things that I promote all the time.
Hmm.
Every month or so, I usually add a new book to my book list on my website. Not because I want to say, look how much I read. That doesn't matter. But here are books that I recommend. I've got a top 10 list. That top 10 list also has an honorable mentions list, which if I was going to do more than a top 10, I'd probably have a top like 20 or 25 or something like that. But I have a top 10 list, and then I have like another 10 or 15, I don't know the number off the top of my head, of books that also are very influential. And when I usually make a book recommendation, it's going to come out of that list. But then I also have another list of all sorts of different books that I've learned leadership from, that I've gotten creative ideas from, that have inspired me in different ways, um, and that I've taken something from, or that's taught me something that I've either strengthened in my life or tried to implement in my life.
Hmm. Okay. Nah, that's a look. I
Are there
saw.
some wheels turning there, Corey?
No, yeah, it is because to be honest, like so for myself, I know it's different for of course each and every industry, but for myself, it's always
Sure.
just for real estate, learning all the houses as possible, learning about the
Mm-hmm.
materials, learning about, okay, there's always an interest rate, there's always a mortgage, there's always some sort of financial thing, there's always a new documentation. Whatever comes up, it's always about learning it and just being the
Yeah.
best as possible, but still knowing there's always something you're not going to know. And over the course of time, it's just learning how to absorb what you can, but also learning how to try to start working together with others to delegate those things. And with you talking about
Yeah.
the book, those are like you learn how to grow yourself, but also you learn how to talk and communicate with others. And that's really the purpose of being an entrepreneur, being a leader, being as you are a coach too, when it comes to just motivation and helping others and guiding them. It's just really
Mm-hmm.
about instructing them how you can get the most out of them.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Because, like I've mentioned in our conversation on Monday, to me, a book is the ultimate cheat code. You're getting the benefit of somebody's business or life experience. Maybe they put 20, 30, 40 years of wisdom in that book, and you're going to read it in 30 days. Now, you might not be able to take 10 different things out of that book and implement them, but what if you just took one? So every month you read a book, every month you take one idea out of that book. You've just add 12 new ideas to your life and to your business, or maybe to your life, to your business, to your family, that then you implement that thing over the next 30 days while you're reading the next book. Well, so you got a little bit better. So at
and
the end
see,
of a year, you're now X percentage better than you were at the beginning of the year.
and that's the hardest thing, to be honest, consistency. It's like you want to try to be great at so many things, but consistency is the hardest thing. And so, like,
Oh yeah.
because I had like a thought with it. I sent you it on it too, but like one of the thoughts I was thinking about is like how to make sure you measure your growth of your personal self, your business, your spiritual self, all those things. But at the same time, it's like you got to measure it while still not lacking in other senses, which me personally is like I think what helped me is really just community, community, and community. Like you have a strong mind, but really when you have a good support system with you, they hold you accountable. Hey, look, Corey, make sure you read this part. Hey, Corey, look, we're both trying to grow in this aspect. hey, dang, look, we talk once a week about this business thing. Let's stay on track with that. Just,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, to be honest, accountability, accountability.
So we, so in the leadership team that I work with,
Hmm.
we teach three things that are critical to a person's personal success journey: read, listen, and associate. Read good books that teach business and leadership. Read biographies. Read histories that you can go ahead and start pulling some of those ideas into your life. Number two, listen. Listen to good audios that teach, that instruct, whether they're religious or business, whether it's actually a video and not just an audio, but read and listen. And then the third one is associate. Well, by reading and listening to good things, you're associating there, but also, like you just said, who's in your community, who you're spending time with. Saturday night, I'm going to a leadership event that we call a seminar, and I'm going to drive about an hour and a half, and I'm going to sit in a room with two multimillionaires, two of the top real estate um, dealers in the state of Pennsylvania, and about 200 other people that are at different levels of success in their own business as well as in our leadership organization. Now, I'm not going to learn something from every single person in one night, but I have a conversation with somebody and they share something. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. I need to think about that. And then I can make a note if I need to, or, put a little message in my phone. And then we're going to listen to the presenter that night, and they're going to talk a little bit about their business, and how and certain things that maybe I may be able to apply to mine. And then they're going to talk about their personal story and their personal journey with business and personal development. Because in organization, what we found is that association helps you grow yourself, grow your business, and grow success. Most people have heard of the law of association. It has another
Hmm.
formal name, but I never remember what it is. Um, I should say, no, I shouldn't say never. I usually don't remember what it's actually called. But what that
Hmm.
is, you know, you're one of six people in a friend group. What's the average income? Because you're probably going to fall within that ballpark. What's your life like? What's your lifestyle like? You're going to fall in that ballpark. So by associating with people that are more successful than you, you're going to level up because you're in the room with them. You're listening. You're learning. You're grabbing key points. You're reading a book from an international bestseller who also is successful in business, let's say. Okay. Let's say over the course of 5 years, you read that book 3 times. You're associating with that person, even if you're not able to sit in a room and listen to them teach or speak. So that's those three things: read, listen, associate, are critical. Real estate, you had to read real estate material. You had to probably listen to real estate training. And then you needed to associate with the real estate agents and brokers to develop the skill sets to be able to do the business, right?
Yeah. And just hearing you say it, it's like you associate. So the two things you said, as soon as you said it, it's like it just stuck in my head. Associate and always be a student. Because if you associate, but you're not, coachable or a student, you're not going to grow and do anything.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yep. And so like just by associating, it's like how do you always get that good group of people around you? And I mean, let's be honest, you got LinkedIn, you got Instagram, but it's also tough because sometimes you can ask, but some people just don't want to be there to help, I guess, give you the
No,
knowledge. Sometimes they
absolutely.
just don't want to say yes because they just don't know themselves. So you gotta just keep saying yes or keep asking, and don't be afraid of rejection. So no matter what, just just keep going. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, right as all the Corona craziness stuff kicked off in 2020, I got invited to a networking group. I didn't
Mhm.
know anything about it. I went in with the wrong. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that his group was meeting on Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock. Eastern, and I could be part of it. And so I went with the wrong attitude, first
Hmm.
of all. And I've told the ladies that run it, I came with the wrong attitude. And I had that wrong attitude for a few months. I couldn't tell you how long because I don't remember anymore. Um, but when I realized I had the wrong attitude, I stopped showing up for myself. I started showing up to share, to teach something, to encourage someone else. And because of that association, I helped write a book last year. I spoke
Hmm.
at my first spoke at my first event, and this year they invited me to come to Scottsdale, Arizona, and speak in person at their event. Now, the cool thing is, it's a hybrid event. We're going to have three physical locations. We're going to have a bunch of people on Zoom, people from 8 countries. There's two I say semi famous because I I've never heard of them before, but one of them is internationally known, and then the other one I think is known in a like a little bit less of well known. Um, but it's like wow, like this is really cool. Like I'm so thankful that I changed my attitude and started learning because I've learned so much from this group because they pour into other people. And where I could help or support a business, absolutely. One of the ladies there created a product. They wanted to sell it from in Canada and the United States. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to eat this product because so she makes granola. Okay. And she makes it homemade. And for years, her family was like, you should try making this and selling it. And she's like, no, no. Well, a couple years ago, she decided, what the heck, let me just try it. And so she got things squared up. She invested the money. Well, there was a problem with the website for people in the US. Now, I didn't know that, but I wanted to buy some of her granola to try it and to support her.
Hmm.
Well, I found out that there was an ordering problem for people in the US at the website.
Hmm.
So, after a couple of days of communicating with her, they got it fixed. I ordered. Delicious. Something I'll probably buy again um, as I get a craving for it. I'm not really a big granola person. I don't eat it all the time. But every now and then, it's good to have. I like to have a little bit of milk, which is totally irrelevant to the conversation. But
Look, it's
we're talking about
still
granola, so
no, but since we're talking about cooking, granola, all this stuff, something that you did kind of also just said to me, also kind of just I'm also taking little mini like script like notes just going through the whole thing because like there's so much good stuff with it. And just one of the things that also does pop to me is just focus on your goal. Do what you have to do. Like what your goal is what you're just gonna focus and strive for. And just one day, one moment, if you just continue to do it right, have great consistency, that thing's gonna blow up. And I remember there was that saying, it's like a watch pot never boils. So the
yep,
same thing applies here. Just focus on your goal, do what you have to do, it'll blow up. And with you saying, how you went in there just not expecting it, next thing you know, it just gradually just blew up. But the thing is, you took that chance and you took that risk. Like, and you didn't know if it was a big risk or not. You just went and you did it. And that's what you got to
yeah,
do. Just put your head down and just do it. And that's something that personally, for me, I do it with a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of things still I'm like thinking in my head, like, dang, is this really the best decision to do? And this is also why
sure,
it's like you got to focus on yourself and what you got to do, but at the same time, hey, God, look, please help me with this. Is this what you want me to do? Like you'll pray on it, you think about it, you have that gut feeling in your stomach. You even feel like this is what I should do, but then you're like, how do I balance that thing of like, what is that? Oh, it's like you got to be patient sometimes. It's like be still and know that he's God. It's like, so how do you
yep.
balance that? Because it's tough. You want to do both sometimes. It's like you want to go, 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 but sometimes you're like, let's just sit.
So a friend of mine, she likes to say that God's delay is not His denial.
Hmm.
That sometimes you're not
No, say
ready
that
for
again.
something.
Say that again, Will. Say that again for me, please.
Um, God's delay is not his denial.
Uh,
And it's a great example of that is some of my mentors, they were in business for, I think, 6 years, and they had gotten to a certain income level and they were okay, but they weren't doing great. They were able to take care of their family. They were able to give up their regular job and just build the business. And then um, they had some hardships, they had some trials, and they learned some principles, and then they exploded and made massive amounts of income. Now, I don't tell that to brag about how they're doing financially, but to implement, to show that principle that the delay was there so they could grow. And what he says about it is God kept us small so that I could grow big enough so he could release the blessing. And
mm,
one of the things that he talks about is that he believes if the blessing would have been given right away, that it probably would have destroyed their marriage. And also, it probably would have wrecked other relationships. But he was humble enough that he accepted God's will, even though sometimes it was hard. And then when the blessings came, he always, even to this day, he expresses gratitude for those hard times because it caused him to be humble before God, dig in deep, and do the work. And speaking about the consistency you keep talking about, Corey, one of my favorite people that I love this, but Jocko Willink says discipline equals freedom. And that's so true in a biblical perspective as well as a business perspective. I'll give you a personal example. I try very hard not to lie. And I say it like that because there's probably things that I say from time to time that I could probably say more honestly, but I'm trying to be careful with people's feelings. And I'm not trying to like be disingenuous, but I'm just trying to be careful. Okay. So when my wife says, "Well, you said this," well, if that's what I said, then okay. I trust my wife,
yeah.
and I won't lie to my wife. So therefore, if she's telling me that I said it, then I already agreed to whatever that was. Now I may not remember what I may not remember the conversation as well as she does, but if I made a commitment to her that I was going to do something, then I need to do it, whether I remember it or not.
Look, when you say something to a woman, they typically remember the conversations more than you do. And sometimes I'm like, look, I'm adamant. I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure I said this. No, you said that. I'm like, you know what? When we graduate to go to heaven, we'll talk to God and be like, what did we say in that moment? You know?
Well, I do believe that when we get to graduation and we get before the judgment bar, we'll get to see our life. And um, I don't know if it'll be like a movie or it'll be like clips. I don't know. I
Mm,
imagine it like we'll be like it'll be kind of like the highlight reels of the good and the bad. Now, I think the difference is that the bad can be shorter based on how humble we are before God. And if we're humble before God, the highlight reel can be a lot bigger. Like there's going to be a lot more stuff in that. And thinking of it that way, I would love to have a big highlight reel where you can people can look and say, "Yep, he was pointing to Christ. Yep, he was teaching about Christ. Yep, he was serving like Christ would serve." I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about I'm serving Christ. These people are the recipients of that gift that he's sending through me.
and
Um,
that's exactly like, I'm sorry to, I guess, get you a quick because when you
no,
said
go ahead.
that it made me this is motivational speaker. I can't he's commonly always talking about he's a Navy SEAL, but just for me personally, like I want to be the best person I can be because I feel like a gift God gave me. I want to be the best real estate agent I can be. Gift I feel God gave me. Pretty good at
Yeah.
talking. God gave me that gift. Pretty knowledgeable. God, let me utilize that gift. I have a good smile. God, please let me make this smile for other people too. Like, God, help me utilize these gifts. And
Yeah.
there's this guy who said, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he said, actually to be honest, maybe it was a Denzel Washington quote, who knows? But it was they said you don't want to be at your deathbed and then you see everything around you is just the hopes and dreams and goals and the talents that you never best used. And that hits because it's like you don't want to be in that situation. Like, God, please help us to just utilize those skills that you want us to just prosper and use for ourselves, but also others. Let us use these gifts. So really, everybody has to find out what those gifts are and just learn to make them grow and
Yeah,
let it explode like we talked about.
absolutely. Another one of my mentors say that the richest place in the world is the graveyards, because so many of those people die with their hopes, their dreams, their talents still in them and not shared.
And it's so hard. So like this is me asking, we'll get both of we'll ask you first and then I'll answer it after. But why do you it's so hard for people to utilize their talents?
Well, I think there's probably a couple of factors. Um, First is that they're self-conscious. We can be very self-conscious about ourselves, and so we don't do something because
Hmm.
we're afraid of being open and out there.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, Probably the second one is on the other side of that is we're too prideful and we don't want to give up without compensation what we have. And that is that is something that um, I'm still trying to better understand for myself because I want to serve, I want to give, um, and I want to make sure I'm doing it in the right spirit. That my heart is right when I'm doing it. I was recently looking at something, um, and I was trying to consider whether I needed to donate more money to a certain um, charity service or not. And I was considering how things are, and I was like, well, right now I think this is okay. I want to do more. My heart says we're going to do more. Let's figure out what the next steps are that we can grow that charitable contribution, you know? And yeah,
Now let's see, there's a whole lot more thoughts. I know that you had this, and see, I guess that's something that's on your heart, and we don't always have the answers to it. We're just trying to get there like everybody else is. We all have our own thoughts and motivations. We're just trying to figure it out. And
yeah,
I would say personally, what stops myself or really even just others when it comes to their skills is, like you said, just self-consciousness. Also, something else for me, failure. I hate failure. Like failure just is not something nice. But it's like you got to overcome that fear. Whatever your fear is,
yeah.
look it in the face and just get over it and just do it. So,
So here's something that I've learned and that I still have to force myself to reframe. You win or you learn. So people are not failures. We can have a failure event. I didn't do well at that test. I messed up in that interpersonal interaction. I missed my business goals. I didn't fail. I can either learn from it or lose from it. The way you learn from it is you look at what happened. Okay, why did I hit that goal? Was it too much that I didn't have enough time to actually accomplish it? Was it that I didn't prepare properly? Um, did I not serve my team enough to help them grow so that they can help me hit that goal? There's different factors that come into play. The interpersonal interaction. Um, if it's a child, did I yell at my kid instead of talking to him? One of the things that's one thing that I've really, really, really tried to fine tune with my children is how I talk to them and make sure that the way I do talk to them allows me to show first, hey, this is wrong or this is not appropriate. or and then change the way I speak to them to show them one, it's okay. Let's learn from this experience. And two, I almost always try to reinforce how much I love them. And I try to do it right away. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm not able to because the child decides that they need a break. They need some time. Um, I was talking to a child one time, and instead of there were a couple of factors at play. One was that he was very tired. So when I tried to talk to him about something, he shut down, turned around, walked away, and went to bed. It was late, but I waited either the next day or 2 days or something, and I said, "Hey, we need to talk about what happened the other night." And I said, "Look, I'd recommend that you figure out how to not respond that way, because if you're confronted like that at a job and you shut down and you turn around and walk away, you can end up fired. You can end up getting written up. There's different consequences in a workplace or in other business places or even personal places. Doing something like that could ruin a relationship." And so I was like, "Look, I understand you didn't want to talk about it. You just could have handled this differently." And so I tried to talk with him a little bit about it, not to reprimand him, not to like, "You were wrong. Hey, this isn't a really good way to handle confrontation. You need to figure out how you can." And I told him, I said, "I'll help you with it. We can talk about it. I can give you some things to read. I can give you some audios to listen to help you with that." And
You got a book for everything.
well, I don't have a book for everything. Somebody wrote a book that covers just about everything. And so I man, between the scriptures and leadership books and the books that I read and end up recommending to people,
Mhm.
you will learn how to become a better person if you want to. You can't not if you're really honest and sincere about your faith and your personal growth. And I'll tell you, over the last 6 years, I've grown faster than I did the previous 24 years because of plugging into a leadership learning system, read, listen, associate, along with my faith. So those three things have accelerated my faith journey as well as my personal growth, business growth journey. Now, I was doing well in my faith journey already because of discipline equals freedom. I don't have to decide when I wake up in the morning, am I going to read my scriptures and say my prayers? Now, there could be extenuating circumstances like a sick spouse or a sick spouse or a sick child or other things that can happen. So I might have to adjust and then come back to it. But I don't have to think about it. I have a very set routine. I get up, I do certain things. If my kids are up before a certain time, morning time is quiet time. And I'm sometimes I do have to get firm or stern with some of my children because they don't want to practice that. But I tell them, you may go back to your room until you can be quiet or until this time. And I don't mind them being up when I'm doing my study, and when I'm doing my going through my morning routine. I'm perfectly fine with having them around. It's just that they also need to respect that this is my time to get my day started. And so, discipline equals freedom, going back to Jocko Willink's phrase. And I love that he has put it down into such a short, concise, direct set of words. Because you can go on, you could talk around that for hours. But the truth is that the discipline equals freedom is the most concise way I think you can say that. And it practice applies to faith, it applies to business, it applies to family life.
So here's my one last question that I kind of have on
Sure.
my head, and I didn't write it down actually. So
Okay.
it's a pop quiz for you, but also kind of just me. And so, like the stage of life that you're in right now, what Bible character suits your life best right now? Like, are you in a Adam and Eve state? Are you in like the Noah state? Are you in like, Sodom and Gomorrah state? Like, what character in the Bible
Oh,
right now, do you look at yourself and say, hey, this is my state?
so the
See, first,
the
good
Bible
question.
character. It's a great
See,
question. The Bible character that I've most directly right now at this period of my life associated with is Esther.
interesting.
Because what does she say? What does Mordecai tell her? You were born for such a time as this.
Hmm.
And I am where I believe where God wants me to be at in my personal life, in my business life, in my family life. Now, that's not where we're going. This is the phase I'm passing through. And I've had to tell myself a couple of different things. And one of those things is you were made for such a time as this. You are here. I am here now where I am at business wise, family wise, because this is my journey. Now, that's the one that I focus on the most is her story. And it's really just over the last 6 months kind of been living in my head so much so that uh we have a religious app on our smart TV that
Mhm.
has a bunch of different religious stories. It's got scripture stories in there. It's got Christian movies, and one of them was about Esther. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of like an interesting take on the story of Esther. And so
Mhm.
I watched it one Sunday afternoon. We have quiet time Sunday afternoons, and the kids can go to their rooms or take naps or stuff. Sometimes I'll take a nap, but I decided I'm gonna watch this movie. And
Uh-huh.
so I watched this movie about the story of Esther, and it does vary from the Bible. They add stuff to the story to kind of round it out a little more. I
Mhm.
understand people are going to do
It's
that.
a movie.
Um,
Yeah.
However, they really tried. I thought they really did try to do a good job of staying with the main story of Esther and conveying that she was there for such a time as this. Now, I'm not saying that I'm called to do something like Esther and change the laws and save her people. No, no. I'm just saying in my walk right now, the Lord is reminding me that I was made for such a time as this.
Dang. Look, the way you said, I'm like, I might take your person, also might just add to it then. So cool. We'll
Hey,
say, uh-huh.
that's awesome.
So I'll say part of Esther in that regard, but also my first thought, I'd say David. Like,
Yeah.
if I everything else afterwards, I would love to have all that stuff too. But it's just David when it comes to looking and saying, hey, look, here's the obstacle, here's that Goliath in your way.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you're, learning how to grow, and that's really the phase of my life right now, just knowledge, spiritual and physical growth. So with this
Yeah.
growth, you start looking at these daunting tasks and things you want to do. And those are basically that Goliath. And you got to
Yeah.
find a way to get over that Goliath. So right now I'm trying to load up my slingshot and find these rocks to take on that Goliath. So I would say that's my character right now.
He's a great character. Young David as a boy, seeing all of the army of Israel afraid of Goliath,
Hmm.
chastises the entire army. Takes five smooth stones from the river and goes down there in his everyday clothes.
We look, everybody wants that swagger of David. So
But see, I don't. I mean, I guess you can call it swagger. To me, I think of it as humility.
I think he had all the above. Look,
Well, I'm not arguing with the point. I'm just saying, in my mind,
yeah.
I think of David at that point in his life as humility
Hmm.
and the faith. I mean, the faith he had to look at this guy who was, I think, 9 feet. They think he was 9 feet tall, and this is like a boy So in the Jewish culture, he'd be younger than 13, I think.
Yeah.
So let's say he's 10 or he's 11 or 12. So this guy could be 2.5 times his height,
Nah,
and
look,
he's gonna.
depends on his 12-year-old, like 10-year-old self.
I
Because
know,
if
like,
the 10-year-olds
right?
these days, they're like, almost my height, and I'm like 6'4". But kids back in the day, like if he's like 4 foot, jeez, maybe even
Yeah, I
three.
mean,
But
my 12-year-old is I think just at about 4 feet tall.
hmm,
So you know,
well, no, I guess that was my transition. That was really my last question. Because I know it's getting darker and darker. And I'm like, look, I know your family and your wife is about to start saying some stuff. She's gonna be like, why are you in like
no,
that?
no,
So I was
she's already texted me. She's already given me work to do when I come in the door.
like, see? No, but see, that's why I'm not mad at the ending we just did with it. But it kind of popped up and I kind of you gave a good answer with it. So
Well, I, I I'll tell you what. One of the things I really believe in is authenticity, and this is coming from a guy who tried to hide who he was in high school because he was afraid.
mm,
He was afraid of what other people were going to think. He was afraid of how he would be judged. He was afraid that people wouldn't like him. And at some point after high school, um, the Lord taught me some different things, and I realized I have to be more authentic. I can't hide the real me. It's a lie, and I have to be willing to accept the way that I am. Now, that doesn't mean I have to be content with where I'm at in my personal journey. I can still have goals ahead of me that I need to work towards,
mm,
but I can be myself, keep my eye on those goals, continue to work towards them and become better, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I can work on those things. Now, that being said, you know, I look at myself, and on one side, I'm content. I'm down 100 pounds from my heaviest. On the other side of that, I'm not content because I still have at least 65 pounds more to get rid of. Now, there's a duality to that as a person where I can accept the journey I'm on, but still pursue that goal.
we
Have
just gotta
grace
keep
for
going.
myself. Huh?
I said we just gotta keep going. It's the job's
Yeah.
not finished.
Yeah. Discipline equals freedom.
Hmm. Well, look, thank you, Will, for just having me, and thanks for the conversation. Everything has been pretty good with it, and there's a lot of things I think myself and really a lot of people could take away from this.
I agree, Corey. You are an amazing young man who is very, very thoughtful and I believe very intentional about your life, the way you live it, the way you practice your faith, the way you run your business. And I really think that came through tonight as we talked, that you do things with intentionality. And what this world needs is more men and women of faith being intentional with as much of their life as they can be.
It's hard, but yeah, I'm like, if everybody could do it, look, all of us would. It's difficult, but that's why we just gotta turn to God for it. We just, gotta have that good community, but also just turn to God and have that David faith and humility you talk about.
And it's little things over time. It's one step at a time. It's one step at a time. It's not get up and run a marathon. It's get up. You know what? Get up and let me walk around my house 2 times. Let me do that a couple. Let me do that. Let me do that for a week. Okay, I did that. Okay, let me go and add 2 more laps the next week. Let me add 3 more laps.
Geez, so that's a good thing to always. I'm not. I gotta do that. I'm saying flat out, I gotta do that. Dream big, but it takes one step. Dream big, take another step. Dream big, take that third step. You'll get to your destination, and you take your longest
Yeah,
drive.
and really one of the things that I recommend people do is give themselves grace. Don't accept accept that you're not perfect. When you make mistakes, own it, apologize to the people you need to apologize, whether you need to pray and ask God for forgiveness or your spouse or whoever. Maybe you just need to forgive yourself. And then the next day, get up and work to improve.
Hmm.
So, Corey, you're fantastic, brother. You're
Nah,
fantastic.
I'm doing well with it, and I just I should have whipped up my popcorn. I had a smoothie just talking and listening. I'm like, my popcorn would be a better snack, but like I'm trying. Like I ate so much
uh,
barbecue the past like it's Fourth of July is over, but yet it's still so much barbecue stuff all the time right now. I'm like I need to just stop eating barbecue. So got a good smoothie, just trying to just
hey,
chilling,
you
not
got
eating too much of the stuff.
no. Each of us, each of us has to have our own health journey too, depending on what we want. Not enough people are being again intentional about that, and you're being intentional. So
Also, so a couple things. This is just, I guess, us just talking now, but like so you had some good stuff that you said. So like, if you don't clip, like, so are you gonna send the whole video of it, I guess?
yeah, I'll send you a whole copy of the video.
But and I'll clip random stuff, but like some of the stuff you said, I
Sure.
was, this man better clip it and put it on his IG and other places. Because I'm like, if you don't, I will.
I am really great at posting whole videos. I
You could- Just, you'll see, you'll see, you'll see. Look, if I, every time you'll see, and I say you'll see because I'm gonna tag you, so you're gonna see it.
Hey,
But
that's
like,
awesome. I'm glad you have that skill set and that desire to do that. I have the desire. I lack the time and the skill set right now.
I don't
So
prefer to do it. It's just, so this is something else. I just accept some things you got to do, but some things it's
yeah,
like you really don't want to do it, and you really, really don't want to do it. But it's like, you know what? Sometimes you just got to do what has to be done.
no, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I first started doing Facebook Live videos not because I wanted to, because it was, hey, I want you to start doing these. I don't want to do those. I don't want to be on Facebook and do a Facebook Live. Yeah, but I'd like you to talk about some things. Okay. And so I started doing Facebook Live videos back a while ago. And I was feeling like, man, why am I doing these videos? Like, I don't really feel like anything's coming from it. I'm not getting a lot of comments. I'm not, I don't know that I'm inspiring people. And then one day I did a video about Captain America, and
Oh, look,
a
everybody's
friend, a friend sent it to another friend, and she has a son that I think, if I remember correctly, he was autistic. He is autistic. I apologize.
Mhm.
Um, they sat and watched that video. I think she said like 5 or 6 times, and it helped her son so much that day that she direct messaged me on Facebook Messenger, and I was feeling low because I was doing this. I didn't really understand why I was doing these, and I got that message from her. And I read it and I started crying. My wife's like, "What's wrong?" And I just handed her my phone. I just handed her my phone because I couldn't speak. Now, that was Heavenly Father saying, "Hey, you're not doing this for you. This isn't about you. This is what this young man needed to hear. And you were the person right now who could deliver that message." So I talk about what's on my mind. Um, I share living a principle based life because that's what faith is about. The beautiful thing about principles is that they're universal. They've been practiced for whether you're a person of faith and you believe in the 6,000 year model or whatever people it's somewhere in there, or you're more into the earth is billions of years old. Humans have been around for 20 or 50,000 years or whatever. Just go back and look at societies. They had to have structure. to be able to work together and survive. There are principles that are universal to every people on earth that show that. And no society could survive without a principle based life.
Hmm. Do you preach?
No, I don't. I
Have
am a
you
youth
ever?
pastor right now for um, the boys in my church that are between the ages of 11 and 13. And I teach 2 Sundays a month typically when we get the young men together.
You never know what's
So
happening in the future. Well, you never know. But look, we'll go from we'll see. But I'm like, you never know. But look, all I can say is just thank you again for everything. In even if it's recorded, if it's not recorded, we definitely have to still talk another time about just the stuff. I
hey,
still wait to hear your Lion King thing. I'm not gonna, oh, not Lion King. It's a Kung Fu
Kung
Panda.
Fu Panda.
Look, both of them basically have like, okay, not if they not okay. Disney would be mad at me, I guess. Whatever, whoever owns it, Pixar, whatever it is. But like to me, both of it like is good, and then there's
So
like frustration with
yeah,
it. But I
yeah.
know they're different stories a little bit. But whenever you do have your speech with it, man, I'm serious. I want to hear it. I want to just see it. I want to hear it. I just maybe that should be a series. Who knows? You start going through the Disney princesses. What is Mulan going through? Then you start going through Snow White. Okay, what was going on with her and like, the 50 dwarves that was living with her? Like that could be a series because I'd watch it.
Yeah, I gotta get my talk written for October. I I've got my original one I did for my son's school. Um, but I want to come at this with a bit of a different angle. Um, because I want it to be geared to adults, but I also want to have content there for the kids to be able to listen to it and learn something themselves. So
Oh, okay, so now here's actually my last thing, and then we'll do what we have to do. That video, because I'm serious. I keep saying it because I got to stop myself. I'm trying to stop myself. It's tough. But that video I sent you the other day, how did you
mhm.
feel about that actually? Because like I said, that was just something that popped up, and I was like, let me just show it to him because we was talking about motivation, coaching.
Yeah, I've seen some of Eric's content before.
Mhm.
Um, and he teaches great stuff. He teaches principles. He teaches about believing in yourself. And one of the things that I have been working on this year is visualization. And let me explain. Um, one of Kobe Bryant's last interviews, the individual interviewing what was told, you have to be at our office at 6:30 in the morning. You will have 25 minutes to do the interview, and that's it. So he got all the stuff. He had everything ready. He showed up at the office, and as they were trying to find as the assistant was trying to help him try to find the right place to set up to do the interview, they walked by a conference room, and it had like frosted glass windows or something, so you couldn't really see who was in there, but you could see somebody was in there. Kobe Bryant was sitting in the office. He got to the office. He was the first one there, 5:30 in the morning, and every morning he would go into the office and he would sit and he would spend an hour doing visualization for his family, for his businesses, for his for his own personal life. And he would spend time visualizing that and imagining the different things that he wanted to make happen. And that is something that I've been working on is to visualize that. Now I'm starting to tune it to where if I'm not thinking about anything, man, the first thing I think of is the goal I'm running for October. I think about the truck that's on the lot here by my house, the used truck that's sitting there. And every time I see it, I'm like, I say the date, I point to it and say, you're mine, you're mine. Now, whether I hit that goal or not, today is irrelevant. What is relevant is that I have the goal, I have the date, I know that what I need to do to hit that goal, and I can see it. I picture myself driving that truck. I picture my wife sitting right beside me because it's a bench seat. It's an older truck, but I'm visualizing that. I visualize standing on stage in October with two other two other people, and the goal isn't to win that trophy, that award. The goal is to be on stage. If I happen to be, if my team happens to be the one that's done enough work to earn the trophy, that's icing. That's icing. Being on stage, that's the cake. That's the best part because I did the work. Now, will I be grateful? Will I acknowledge the leaders in my teams when if I receive that? 100%. The work to get there, visualizing myself standing on stage, bouncing on my heel, bouncing on my feet because I'm so excited to be there. I see it. I practice visualizing it and looking as if I was looking at the stage, seeing me up there, seeing the other two team leaders up there, and just the anticipation. Am I going to be third? Am I going to be second? Am I going to be first? Man, this is awesome. This is the goal: is to be on that stage. So now that I'm practicing that visualization, I'm practicing that. Now I need to take it and put that perspective. I'm on stage, looking at the audience, looking at my teammates down in front of the stage, cheering me on, looking at the teammates of the other two people, the other two teams that are leaders that are up there, and seeing all of their people down there in front, cheering, creating that future, envisioning it, practice, and that's been hard for me to do that visualization,
Hmm.
but I'm practicing it. I've got a bigger goal that's farther down the road, probably probably 3 years down the road, and every now and then I'll pull up the picture of that house and I'll look at it and I'll just nod my head. One day I'm gonna own that house. I'm gonna have a summer house in South Carolina on that place. That's the house right there. And I have a very nice picture of it. I went into my phone in my contacts. I put Becker Beach House. I put in the address. I took the picture, put it in the contact photo, and I'll just like go pull it up. Yeah. Uh-huh. That place right there. That's
No,
that's the place.
you say that. It's nice there too, but look, come to Maryland. Look, I help you find a place by the water on Annapolis or Bowie, Chesapeake. Look, come here. I help you out. You know I will.
Oh, the only problem with Maryland is they don't like guns.
Ah, look, we
No,
record.
I know.
I'm like, we record. I won't talk about it.
I've really no beef with Maryland. I tease my wife about that. The taxes are too high. They don't like guns. I'm from Texas and I live in West Virginia. I'm a little bit hillbilly, as she likes to remind me.
Oh man, look, Virginia's a place, but look, we'll get to that point when we get there. Just know it whenever you do.
Absolutely, Corey.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But look, thank you again for everything. We'll talk. You already know you're locked in my phone at this point. It's locked in my phone, my Instagram. Who knows? Maybe eventually you'll pop up on my. Actually, we're linked on LinkedIn too now. I'm like, we'll pop
Yeah,
up off at this point. But just thanks for everything, Will, and
you're welcome,
just continue to do all the amazing work that you do, man. I look forward to the next time.
Corey. I look forward to the next conversation too. I think that you're going to continue to teach me and inspire me, and I'm looking forward to the next conversation.
Of course. Now, I hope that the grocery list of stuff your wife has isn't too long. So,
No, it's just a little task. So, but
all
all
right,
right,
well,
brother. Have a great night.
yeah, you too, man. Bye.
All right. My friends, followers, and fellow book lovers, have a great night.